Good morning, everybody. Good Lord, there's a lot going on. Let's dig right into it. Let's go. Let's get it. Man, I got to tell you, this has just been amazing. You've seen the breaking news, and we're going to talk a little bit about it because just the corporate media has really screwed the pooch on this one. We're talking about the Signal scandal to start with. Oh, guys, I'm telling you, folks, this has just been mind-blowingly imbecilic. Just a quick recap of what we're talking about. There's more to it, folks. There is a lot more to it that the corporate media has just absolutely failed to tell people, to have the discussions that they really needed to be having. If you haven't, just a rehash for people that maybe have missed this, this has been the absolute big news story for the last 2 days. The Trump regime, and we've talked about this before, they're imbecilic. They are just morons. He's put together a cabinet full of morons. And the cliff notes of what happened here to catch, like I said, just to catch people up. These morons decide that they're going to attack Yemen. We're going to get to that in a second. Put a pin in that. They're going to attack Yemen. So they get together, and do they get together on in a skiff? No. They decide they're going to go ahead and do this. They're going to have a get together. They're going to have a virtual get together, and they do it on their personal, private cell phones, not government issued, government controlled, personal private cell phone. And they do it using a free messaging app. Now, for those of you that don't know, Signal is, when we talked about it in the last show, a little bit. For those of you that don't know, Signal is it's an encrypted app. It is. It's encrypted, but it's not, government espionage level encrypted. No, it is not. The FBI can get into Signal. They can. Signal will keep your grandma out of your communications, your emails, your texts. Signal will not keep the FBI out, or the FSB, or anybody with any wherewithal whatsoever. They've actually been defeated by hackers before. But they decided this is how they wanted to conduct business with our classified war plans. And to make matters worse, one of the imbeciles added in a journalist into their little group. Now, I want you to imagine this for a second. This is like having a Zoom call, and somebody with admin ability adds a journalist. You're just let's just make something up here. You're in a corporation. Your corporation is having a serious meeting. You're having an important conversation. You are dealing with vital company business, and you decide to have a Zoom call to handle this. Probably not a great idea if you're into security, but hey, you do it anyways. You have a Zoom call, and some moron decides to invite in a journalist. That is just how stupid, how little operational control these people have. I've told you, they're morons. Everyone that Trump nominated to put together his cabinet are morons. They are. Gary Moon, thank you for being here, sir. Thank you for supporting the show. We should not let them bury this story or dismiss it. We need to make them wear this every day like an albatross or dunce cap. It is not going away. This has hang time, and I've got some clips for you later that you guys are just going to love. So stick with me. I realize a lot of you have heard some of this before. It's important for context and to catch people up that haven't followed all of it. If it was corporate media, they would have texted back to let them know that they made an oopsie and then asked for a special access to the presser. No kidding. You know, if it had been Kristen Welker, they would have just offered her dinner with some steaks and a bottle of Merlot, and all would have been good. But no, this was Jeffrey Goldberg, and thank you for bringing that up. This is great. I want to say thank you to Jeffrey Goldberg. His professionalism in this entire incident has been amazing, nothing short of amazing. Jeffrey Goldberg was the journalist. He's the editor-in-chief at The Atlantic that was brought into this text circle, if you will. They're literally giving specific war plans, targets, times they're going to attack, targets, you know, people they're intending to kill, what their response will be after, what order these objectives need to occur, what they need to do after. This is a war plan, folks. Not just a war plan, but it's also the how do we handle this after the fallout? Who do we contact in the press? Yada, yada, yada. Okay, so this was an OPSEC, operational security nightmare that they just brought someone in. No kidding, Mr. Newton. No kidding, bud. No kidding. But her emails, right? They're using, and I need to stress that is part that is just really kind of being swept under the rug here is, hold on. You guys know I collect mugs. You know, I don't just sell mugs. I collect mugs. This is one of my I saw this. I had to have it. I bought it. My new Batman mug. But so they're on personal cell phones. They're using a free messaging app. They invite in a journalist. You think, it doesn't get any worse than that, right? It doesn't get any worse than that. Oh, yeah, it does. Oh, yeah, it does. One of them, Trump's Middle East envoy, was in Moscow. Yeah, I just let that sink in for a second. It is. I don't have a picture. I'm not going to worry about it. But yeah, Trump's Middle East envoy, Steve Witkoff, who has been a mouthpiece for Russia, who has done nothing but spew Russian propaganda, for whatever reason, was in Moscow when they were texting this information back and forth on personal cell phones. He was on a Russian-owned data network. Folks, he was on a personal cell phone in Russia on a free app messaging our detailed classified war plans. Via Men, 29,397. Paul, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much would you like to see this administration be played out to the merry-go-round broke down from the Looney Tunes instead of hail to the chief? No kidding, man. No kidding. Spot on. And thank you for supporting the show, man. New contributor, thank you for the show. I appreciate supporting the show. I can't do it without you. Y'all keep the lights on. I tell you that all the time. But I need you to be clear. I need to be clear about this. Steve Witkoff was in Russia. He was utilizing I don't care if you're using a phone or whatever. If you're using internet data, you're using an internet service provider. That service provider was Russian. All of that data is in Russia's hands. This is an operational security nightmare, and they're just starting to touch on it. They're just starting to dig into. This is not going anywhere. This has hang time, and it is. People are really asking questions, like CNN. This is from CNN. I hate when people put up quotes and don't credit where they come from, like they did the journalism on it or something. No, this is from CNN. But are officials even allowed to discuss this type of information on encrypted messaging platforms? An unnamed former Justice Department official told CNN that Pentagon regulations explicitly state that messaging apps, including Signal, are not authorized to access, transmit, or process non-public DoD information. Yet we've got Tulsi Gabbard, Mike Waltz, all the people that are supposed to be running our intelligence apparatus they're all using Signal. And folks, they're being sued for this because there is no records retention. This is why they're using their personal cell phones. Remember, they attacked Hillary Clinton for having a personal email server that was locked away, limited access. This was unacceptable. This was impeachable. This was awful. This was terrible. They're using personal frickin' cell phones, no data retention whatsoever. And they're being sued for it. But what's worse is their response to it. Now, Pete Hegseth just humiliated himself. The first thing he did was try to lie and deny. He came out, and I'm sure and again, I know we're rehashing some of this for you folks. A lot of you seen it, but not everybody's seen this. It's important to know. Pete Hegseth comes out and just basically denies it all.
One question.
Can you share how your information about war plans against the Houthis in Yemen was shared with a journalist in The Atlantic? And were those details classified?
You're talking about a deceitful and highly discredited so-called journalist who's made a profession of peddling hoaxes time and time again, to include the hoaxes of Russia, or the fine people on both sides hoax, or suckers and losers hoax. So this is the guy that peddles in garbage. This is what he does.
Okay, so you get the idea. He's sitting there saying, "Oh no, this didn't happen. No. This didn't. This wasn't war plans. This wasn't." He is just lying his ever-loving ass off. And I want to be clear about this. And again, hats off to Jeffrey Goldberg. His level of professionalism here. I want to finish that thought up. I left it kind of hanging there. Hats off, sir. Hats off. Hats off to you, sir. 100%. His level of professionalism, and let me tell you what I mean by that. He's driving down the road. This is how this played out. He's driving down the road. He gets an alert that he's been added to a Signal conversation. So he takes a look at it and he thinks it's a spoof. These people get fed BS. He's the editor-in-chief of The Atlantic magazine. This has happened before. People have tried to send him BS before. And that's what he thinks it is. He's like, no. These people are sending me real-time information on an attack that is going to be playing out. This is a spoof. But he went into journalism mode. He's like, I need to find out who is doing this. I need to watch this. I need to figure out who is trying to spoof The Atlantic and what is their purpose. This has obviously got to be a diversion, right? I mean, this can't really be happening. So he pulls his car over and he sits on the side of the highway. And he watches this play out, and he watches it play out. And I mean, and I'll let him talk about it. you'll hear from himself, when he defends himself against Pete Hegseth's attack there. But when he realizes, because he gets a notification on he's the editor of the Atlantic. Of course he gets a notification. He's in the loop more than just about anybody you would know that, yes, there have been attacks in Yemen. He finds out almost instantly. As soon as this hits the wire, he gets a notification. And he's like, oh, shit. This is real. Click, and leaves the group. Why? It's against the law. It's not against the law for some moron to add you to a group. But should you realize that you are seeing classified information? Should you see that you are ethically bound to leave that conversation? And he did. And I got to tell him, he's a better man than me, because I would have stayed in that conversation. I would have stayed in that conversation, and I would have been trolling those people left and right. Oh my God, the Houthis have responded with a nuclear weapon. Where did they get a nuclear bomb? I would have just been sitting. Oh my God. I couldn't have helped myself. I really couldn't have. But he did the absolute professional right thing. Harold Puttinson, thank you for being here, sir. Thank you for being part of our European audience. Thank you so much, sir. New time supporter, and grateful for having you here. Your voice, this global voice, is hugely important to our community and the conversations that we have. That's why you guys in the live chat, I mean, I tell people, the best community anywhere, if you want to talk about what's going on. You guys are incredibly informed. Thank you for being here. But yeah, Jeffrey Goldberg responded to this attack, and I'll let him put it in his own words. And again, hats off to Jeffrey Goldberg. Super professional in the way he handled this. He has not leaked any of this. He is not, he's 100% spot on, man. Spot on.
Responsible here and not disclose the things that I read and saw. I will describe them to you. The specific time of a future attack, specific targets, including human targets, meant to be killed in that attack, weapons systems, even weather reports, that the government is I don't know why Hegseth was sharing it with everybody. I mean, the precise detail of, and then a long section on sequencing. This is going to happen. Then that is going to happen. After that happens, this happens. Then that happens. And then we go and find out if it worked. I mean, he can say that it wasn't a war plan, but
Sorry. Apologize. Don't know how I ended up muted there. Catherine Ryan, can the Joint Chiefs of the military step in and take control? They are putting our country at risk. Is this an act of treason? No, it is not an act of treason. It doesn't meet the definition. And no, the Joint Chiefs can't do anything about it. These are their bosses. I mean, short of resigning, there's really not much the military can do here. Great comment, great question, but it's just mind-blowing, isn't it? I mean, absolutely 100% grossly mind-blowing that, yeah, we have competent people. We have people out in an aircraft carrier, professionals, that are subject to this. And more so, and I'll use your comment as a segue, but first let me read what William G. Eighth is, a longtime supporter, longtime member of the community. I would have stayed in the conversation. Only difference would I have changed my settings to public. Yeah. Journalists don't do that, man. They don't. Kudos to Jeffrey Goldberg. I mean, really, he handled this just spot on perfectly. But I want to use that comment, the previous comment, as kind of a segue as to why this is a problem. I want you to think, if you're French intelligence, we've talked about Five Eyes before, and how German, French, the UK, us, Australia, we all work together. Our allies all work together, even groups that aren't in Five Eyes. We share intelligence with each other. And sometimes sharing that intelligence means exposing personnel. If you're MI6, are you going to share shit with us anymore? This was a deal breaker. I mean, this is, folks, a deal breaker. And you have not yet begun to see the fallout from this. This is going to get American soldiers killed. And I don't just mean they risk American lives by pumping personal data through their personal cell phones, over Russian internet service provider system that might have allowed the Houthis to know exact targets, where our planes were going to be. I don't mean just that. I mean, going forward, we are really going to have a problem. I can't stress for you enough. This is not okay. If you are an intelligence chief in France, Germany, the UK, anywhere, any of our major allies, Poland, you're not going to share information with us. Not if you know the imbeciles in charge are running around sharing it on their personal cell phones, using free apps. Folks, this was supposed to be handled in a skiff, with secured communications. Let me just give you just a taste. Lincoln, thank you for being here. First time supporter. Thank you, sir. Hegseth must have been halfway sober because he didn't accidentally send it. Yeah, dude, you did. Yeah, absolutely. We don't know at this point how bad this got. We don't know if anyone else was added at this point. We only know about Jeffrey Goldberg. That's it. That's all we know about is Jeffrey Goldberg. There could be more. And we don't know what all information was shared. Yeah, that was their response. That was their response, Susie Jones. There was a hearing, and we're going to play some clips from that hearing. They just clammed up. They completely clammed up. As they should, to be honest with you, as they should. They should, when you're in a hole, first things, put the shovel down, stop digging. Don't be a Pete Hegseth. Don't come out and start telling a bunch of lies, because you're going to get called out on your lies. And of course, I want you to think about this. If you are a world leader, you are our ally. This didn't help at all. This is leaked because, of course, it leaked. They thought this would help. So the White House leaked this, that Trump was real major mad over this. But what they leaked just made it worse. You know, you've seen military operations before. You've seen pictures of President Obama and Hillary Clinton in the Situation Room. You've seen the way Democratic White Houses handle. They take this seriously. Trump had no clue. He wasn't involved. He wasn't being briefed. He was just checked out. And his rant about it expounds on exactly how checked out he was. These plans were being put together without his consent. That is not how this works, folks. When they're going to go and kill other people in another country, when we're going to engage in war, the president gets briefed. Now, if it's a long war like Afghanistan or whatever, they don't, but that's not what this is, folks. This is, we are going to start attacking another country. The president gets briefed. This is a change in policy. This goes all the way to the top, not in this White House, not in this White House, not in this White House, folks. And again, not just intelligence chiefs. I want you to think, if you're the prime minister or the president or whatever of another country, and you see just how checked out Donald Trump is, you see these morons, and you know they're morons. I mean, you got Steve Witkoff, who's supposed to be our envoy to the Middle East, is sitting on a personal cell phone in fucking Russia on a free app. And you know, these are the people running the United States of America. This has long-term damage, and this is not going away. It is not going away. Oregon Wine Lady, thank you for always being here. I believe Danielle Moody coined the term whiskey leaks. No kidding. A play on the old WikiLeaks. This is Whiskey Leaks because it's Pete Hegseth, Danny Doodalito, thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting the show. Thank you. Yeah, and this can't be said enough. This cannot be said enough. But the emails. Pamela Bradley, thank you for being here and supporting the show. Thank you very much. Jeanette Dahl, it will be really expensive acquaintance with the administration flying cars to Greenland, but they are already on their way back. I don't know what that means, Jeanette. I don't, but thank you. Thank you. Richard Walker, as a former service member who held a top secret security clearance, you have to be downright out of your mind to allow your child to enlist right now. Amen. Amen. This is the type of thing. Great comment. This is why I'm telling you, I love that you folks are so on this. This is the type of thing that there is fallout coming from this that we haven't even calculated yet. And that is one of them. I mean, if you had a child that was, you know what, I want to be a Marine. That's what I want to do. I want to be a Marine. If you're that child's parent, what are you saying right now? Oh, hell no. These morons? No. You're going to wait. You're going to wait. Mr. Knudsen, Europe is canceling weapons contracts for the F-35 and all U.S.-made weapon systems because we see Trump as a Russian asset and a fool. How to rebuild trust? That is a great question. And that is, again, more fallout. Are you going to engage? Are you going to buy a multi-billion-dollar weapon system knowing that a Trump can come along and just turn the tap off on parts or whatever? Support. Cancel contracts willy-nilly. No. Everything about this administration is it's destroying our relationships, and there will be long-term fallout. Vincent, I'm just glad to have you here, sir. I am glad to have you here. But Pete Hegseth was humiliated, just humiliated. And it was in fine fashion by Mike Waltz. Just some inside scuttlebutt about Mike Waltz. Everybody thought he was going to be the face. Everybody in the Trump regime thought he was going to be the face. He's got a great resume. Middle-aged white guy. He's not repugnant to look at. You know, I mean, he doesn't look like the rest of these losers. I mean, the rest of it, I mean, they look like carnival freaks for the most part. Everybody, or the closer you get to Trump, the weirder the people freaking look. I mean, they just do. So they thought Mike Waltz was going to be great, and they're horrified. Nobody in the Trump administration knew this guy was dumb as dog shit. He is horrifically dumb. And by horrifically dumb, this is what I mean. While Pete Hegseth and the Trump team is going on the attack against Jeffrey Goldberg, trying to say he's full of shit, he's a Democrat, that's enough, that's all you need to hear, he's a Democrat, he's contributed to Democrats before, that's all you need to know. The fake news, fake news, fake news. Mike Waltz went on Fox News and confirmed it all. Yep, I did it. I added Jeffrey Goldberg. It's my fault. I did it. And the Trump regime is like, oh my freaking God. Somebody please take Mike's phone away. Somebody please, pretty please take Mike's phone away. Because, you know, like I said, they've all got their story in place. It's the Democrats, it's bad. We gotta blame this on the Democrats, and that Jeffrey Goldberg, he's a Democrat and he's leaking information. Of course, he hasn't leaked anything, but you know, that's the stuff they're trying to spread. Here's Mike Waltz. He goes on Fox News, and I'm not going to play the clip for you because it's childish. But they go on this rant about, well, of course you've done it before. You know, you've gone to type in a text or whatever, and it pre-fills out who it is. And of course, the Fox host is like, oh, yes, of course. Who hasn't done that 100 times? I mean, it's just, just 100 times. Who hasn't done that? And of course, the Democrats are just making a big deal about this. Like it's happened to you. You've done it. Well, guess what? You're not running the Department of Defense. You're not running our intelligence apparatus. This is it. It just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. Spicy Jester in Lancaster County, PA, a Democrat won, especially. Yes, absolutely. Great. Thanks for bringing that up, Spicy Jester. Didn't really have time to cover it, but we'll talk about it anyways. A Democrat won, especially. This was going to be for our next show on Friday, but we'll talk about it now. A Democrat won a special election and took a state Senate seat for the first time in 136 years. Voters said they're angry about the Trump agenda. This is how we fight back, folks. He's talking about Malone up in Pennsylvania. And we're gonna talk about that more on Friday. What he's talking about, and remember, I've been telling you about these special elections coming up on April 1st, and what an opportunity is, and what we're hearing and feeling on the ground. This was a Trump 15.4 seat, 15.4 seat. He won that district. Trump won just in November. That seat hasn't been held by a Democrat in 56 years, I want to say 54 years. And it flipped. It flipped. It's a state Senate seat. It flipped. And flipped handily. I mean, he won it by like 3 points, which is a big freaking deal for that level of race. I've told you, a blowout's 5 points. This is a deep, deep, deep red seat gone blue. Michael Z, watch Pete Hegseth speak at a presentation sometime. During his speeches, he sips liquid from a short glass. I bet you it ain't water. I bet it ain't either. Sometimes it looks a little like tea, but I bet it ain't tea. Sloan Gregory, thanks for the support. I really appreciate you. I really appreciate you for being here. New supporter. I'm telling you, folks, that is incredibly important. That tells us whether this show is going to survive or not. Because the same people, you see them all the time, very generous with their time, very generous with their money, supporting the show, the same people over and over and over again. Well, you can't support a show like that forever. The fact that we have new contributors is everything. It means we're going to make it, folks. That's what that means. Jess Joan, Tulsi misremembered this morning. Yeah, sure. Yeah, I know. It's just it's just getting worse. And you can tell by Mike Waltz's getting ahead of everybody else. They have no plan for dealing with this. No one is seriously running this situation. Christian Clickguard, thank you for being here. Part of our European audience, Danish Kroner, amazing. Thank you. I can't be more grateful. Ginger, water, tea, or different avenue. That's whiskey or vodka. All right, Dr. Dunn, good to see you. Mexico in the house. Look, folks, that's the kind of the rehash of what's happened. But there's really more to this. There really is more to this. Part of it is we're starting to hear a little bit about some pushback that they had from J.D. Vance, which is absolutely, J.D. Vance really kind of hit a nerve here when he was talking about this. His question in this whole conversation was, why the hell are we even doing this? And that's what I want to talk about a little bit. He says, I'm not sure the president is aware of how inconsistent this is with his message on Europe right now, Vance wrote. According to Goldberg, there is a further risk to what we see a moderate to severe spike in oil prices. Every time that there's conflict in that region, we get a spike in oil prices. J.D. Vance is trying to point out to the rest of these morons who are apparently acting pretty autonomously, this may not be a good thing, folks. This could bite us in the ass. And it also runs completely counter to the message that we're trying to send Europe. Now, I don't agree with it. You don't agree with it. They're our allies. We have always been the big dog on the block with our military. I mean, we've got this massive off the chart scale size military. So we have always been the ones to, in a situation like this, hey, world trade is threatened. Get in there. That's not what Donald Trump is saying. Donald Trump has been telling Europe, hey, you're on your own. Militarily, you've got to deal with this shit. This is a you problem. Remember, you longtime folks will remember, we brought up the old Silk Road and the trade route we're actually talking about here. This is what goes up through the Red Sea and the Suez Canal from Asia to Europe. This is not America. This is not our trade that's in trouble. Our trade from Europe goes across the Pacific. Our trade does not go from India, around the Cape into the Red Sea through the Suez Canal. That's not us. That's Europe. And Trump's been running his mouth about, oh, well, we're not going to do this anymore. But the first thing that happens totally goes back on everything he says, because they're like a freaking windsock. There is no consistency. Trump is in trouble. Trump needs a distraction. The economy, he's tanked the economy. Just one thing after another. People are pissed off, as you saw by the election results. He's going after, the VA. He's going after Social Security. He's going after one thing after another. He's attacking the judiciary. We're going to talk a little bit more about that. Nothing is good. So what is the old Republican go to when you're up shit creek without a paddle? Start a war. Show the American people some afterburners. And boy, this has failed spectacularly. Barbara Lanky, thank you for being here. Marcia, thank you. Longtime supporter. Glad to see you here. Fellow Texan, glad to see you here. Thank you for always supporting the show, Marcia. But yeah, what were they distracting from? And this is the part that I'm so frustrated with our corporate media. This isn't complex. This isn't hard. This is a subject they are choosing not to talk about. Al Yorkie, what Ukrainian and USA Info is Witless Witkoff handing to Russia? No kidding, man. They've got everything. That dude is sitting there running his personal cell phone in Russia. ET, do you think they have, we're trying to do a wag the dog type of thing to help at home? Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, ET. Exactly. This is what's going on right now. We talked about it in a prior show. We saw Israel. They got up from the negotiating table and started bombing Gaza. And they did it publicly because their radical right wing demanded it. We talked about Itamar Ben-Gvir. We talked about all of that. We don't have to rehash all of that. We're not going to. We're not going to beat that horse. We aren't. We've talked about it in the past. Well, it's getting worse, folks. Israel is about to launch another land invasion into Gaza. They're moving the men, the equipment, and everything to launch another land invasion. And again, we talked about how their right wing there has a diarrhea of the mouth problem. Everything they do, they have to tell the whole world they're doing it. This is an occupation. This is an invasion. They are moving into Gaza to take administrative control over Gaza. So why not just attack somebody, right? I mean, if you're the president and everything has failed, you're supposed to be the peace president that brought peace to the yada, yada, yada. No. It's all blowing up because they're morons. They're idiots. They can't do anything. Dad, don't test that. Mr. Knudsen, this is something that I have to tell you I am watching very closely. Iran just engaged in 2 nuclear tests. One of them we know was a success because the seismometers told us it was a success. Yeah, that is cooking. Please. If you're a believer, if you're a Christian and you think you talk to a deity that built the universe and he's got a personal relationship with you, hey, you may be right. Start talking, because I'm telling you, what's about to happen with Iran is bad. At minimum, politically bad, diplomatically bad. But this may actually, Trump's in trouble. This attempt to distract with Yemen failed miserably. That's for another show, though. That is for another show. I want to see more develop. So the Houthis, who are allies with the Palestinians, okay, we have the Israelis that have very publicly said they're going to roll troops into Gaza, and they're going to take administrative control. They've cut off all aid to Gaza. They are bombing Gaza again. The Houthis, who are allies with Hamas, have said, okay, fine, we're going to start attacking ships again. Mr. Knudsen, thank you for being here again, sir. 100% believer that God does not give a shit. Some people don't, man. Some people don't. Russia will never allow Trump to attack their ally, Iran. Russia has proven they're a third-rate joke. They're a miserable economy run by that's protected by a half-assed military. All of that's been laid bare, and their leader is a gangster. The days of Russia dictating policy to anybody are over. Yeah, ain't that the truth? Ain't that the truth? Dude from SoCal. We've got an administration full of Michael D. Browns. Forgive me for gulping into the mic there. But yeah, the Houthis said this. I mean, they came out and they did what was absolutely predictable. We're going to start attacking ships because of all the shit Israel's doing. If you're an Israeli-owned ship, we're going to attack it. And that was the excuse. That was the excuse the Trump regime used. We're going to just start bombing Yemen. Yemen hasn't started attacking ships yet. They just said it. So yeah, and they needed an excuse. They needed a distraction. And good Lord, was it not a distraction? Because not only did they fail miserably with this disaster of a situation, the operational security was an absolute joke. It laid bare to the entire world that they can't trust us with intelligence, that we're going to act erratically, that this president is in trouble. It's all just a failure, and they're still digging. Tim Walz and Beto Town Hall tomorrow in Roseburg, Texas. Really? I hadn't heard anything about that. Cool. I'm going to have to look into that. Europe loves the non-MAGA Americans. The non-MAGA Americans. Thank you. And you know what? That's a perfect comment. I want to just pause everything, and I want to, because we do have an international audience here. Folks, don't kid yourself. You see how we feel, and you see the majority of Americans aren't idiots. The majority of Americans don't agree with this. Yes, we were idiots in the last election, 100% for ever allowing this to happen. But don't kid yourself. These freaks control the levers of power, and that is what you have to contend with. You and I can sit together on the internet all day long and sing kumbaya and coalesce our ideas and all this other stuff. But when it comes to policy and what meets your country, you need to never forget that these freaks are what's running the show. And there's not much I can do about it. Esteban Aviles, thanks for supporting the show, man. I appreciate you being here, buddy. I really do. Thank you. Marine Geisler, water wars over Columbia River. Watch for Trumco to mess the Colorado River too. That has been a long. If you haven't followed the Colorado River is going dry. There's more water sucked out of it than we can put into it, and it is. When that happens, water wars happen, and that is going to be playing out over the next decade until we get an administration that says, you know what, screw budgets. We've got to invest in infrastructure. We need more water running into that river basin. And they start building lakes and moving the earth to make it happen. Wolf McSpash is Russia is an Eastern Europe gas station run by mafia. Amen, brother. But I got to tell you, the Democrats are hot and they are not letting this go. This is Ted Lieu. This is Ted Lieu and his response.
Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth should resign. He recklessly texted operational details of military strikes, including time, place, location, and sequencing of those strikes, to a journalist. Had that information gotten to the Houthis, American pilots could have been shot down, Navy sailors could have been targeted. His reckless actions endangered the lives of American troops, endanger our national security, and makes it so that our allies don't want to share sensitive classified information with us anymore. Secretary.
That was Ted Lieu in a statement he made. Other Democrats have been speaking out. The Republicans thought they were going to have a layup hearing about the cartels And oh my God, no, this has derailed all of their narrative. It has derailed all of their narrative. They thought they were going to hold another hearing and talk about, oh, the cartels are bad. Look at us. We're tough and we're doing it. No, it didn't work out that way. This is Mark Warner. And if you're involved with politics, you know, Mark Warner is not your guy for these kind of takes. He isn't. Mark Warner is your guy that you need somebody to do business with the other side. Hakeem, you know, Chuck Schumer, okay? Not Hakeem Jeffries, he's in the House. Chuck Schumer. He's going to have to be more aggressive, take more aggressive stances. He's going to have to burn capital in reaching across the aisle to get things done. He is. He just is. That's the political reality. In a situation like that, you keep a guy like Mark Warner in your back pocket. Mark Warner is the guy that gets along with the corporations. He's the guy that gets along. He can reach across the aisle. He is your guy that you're going to use to go to negotiations in the future for whatever bill you need to get done, because the government still needs to run and function. Mark Warner is not your go-to guy for this. And I got to tell you, if we're here, oh yeah, the Democrats have gone to war. They have gone to war.
Or the personal devices? Have the devices been collected to make sure there's no malware? There's plenty of declassified information that shows that our adversaries, China and Russia, are trying to break in to encrypted systems like Signal. I can just say this: if this was the case of a military officer or an intelligence officer and they had this kind of behavior, they would be fired. As I think this is one more example of the kind of sloppy, careless, incompetent behavior, particularly towards classified information, that this is not a one-off or a first-time error.
So yeah, I mean, the Democrats are coming out all guns blazing, boom, 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 boom. They are 100% hot on this. Even you've got Hakeem Jeffries, who has come out and sent a letter to the president demanding that Pete Hegseth be fired. And it's that level of incompetence, folks. It really is that level of a script. Let me just give you a little, just an idea. If you're not familiar with stuff like this, and we have people in the audience that have dealt with these situations, but you know, if you're in a regional command and one of your commanding generals is going to travel, say they're going to go from, Hawaii. You got an admiral that's going to go from Hawaii to Indonesia. Discussions about that travel, you don't just pick up the phone and call a hotel. Hey, we need a reservation. Da, 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 da. No, the phones that those communications go over are locked under key. And you've got to have an officer that has the authority to unlock that phone, and then another officer on the other end that has the authority to unlock that phone to convey travel information. And that's just somebody with scrambled eggs on their hat and brass on their sleeve traveling. That's not war plans, folks. That's how bad they screwed this up. Why everybody, to the layperson, it can kind of be like, well, maybe you're overblowing this a little bit or something. No, this will cause foreign intelligence agencies to stop doing business with us. That is how bad this is. I can't elaborate enough. I can't hit that point enough. Just how bad this is, just how out of the norm something like this is. They would, like I said before, they would normally go to a SCIF, a secured facility inside the Pentagon, inside the White House, and those communications are 100% controlled. You cannot access them. You cannot hack them. I mean, we spend a fortune on these systems, and they did it so there would be no data retention, which is a crime. Mr. Knudsen, just like Canada, Norway loves the people of the USA, but we can't trust you to be good neighbors or friends until you prove otherwise. So sad. I know, brother. I know. And I'm telling you, don't. Just because you hear sanity coming out of us and our community, folks, we're not running the White House. You need to be talking to your representatives like we are a threat, because we are. Anthony Saints, hey, Texas Paul, I do believe in God, but no a-hole stump. Glad you're here, my friend. Glad you're here. And thank you for the support. First-time supporter, thank you for the support. Renee LaForce, thank you for being here. I appreciate you. I really do. Cecile Kazemi, yeah, cartels are bad. Trump and his minions are worse for our national security. You know, I want to touch on that for a minute. I do. I want to touch on that for a minute. We've got a lot to cover. This is going to be a long show. Please stick with us, folks. But y'all make such great points. You know, I was talking about this with Mrs. Texas Paul the other day. Cartels are bad because we make them bad. I know, stick with me. That's crazy. I know that sounds crazy. It's not, though. Cartels are violent because of our drug policy. You're not going to get 20% of the population to stop buying their product. You just aren't. You just aren't. You can pass law after law after law. You can ruin people's lives and put them into the for-profit prison system. You are not going to stop 20% of the population from using their product. And it is a massively high profit product. The materials used to make the drugs that Americans consume cost next to nothing. Hell, cocaine is a freaking leaf, man. It's just a leaf. It comes out of a leaf of the coca plant. And they harvest them in third world countries. So, you know, nothing. And even fentanyl. Fentanyl is dirt cheap. It's completely synthetic. They don't even have to harvest anything. They're making that in industrial chemical plants. So why are cartels so bad? Massive amounts of cash. You can't use credit cards to buy your dope. They're locked out of the financial systems. They're locked out of paying taxes. They're not protected by the government. So they have to protect themselves. And they have to protect themselves from other people who are just as willing to go to whatever length to either take that profit or take their cash. And yes, we arm them. We arm them. We are the ones, America, the gun sword of the world. We're the ones that arm these wildly violent organizations, as we call them. They are drug manufacturers, period. That's what cartels are. The violent part comes in because of us. And folks, this is not a stretch or hard to, there is history that proves what. Go look at Prohibition and why they had to repeal Prohibition. It's the cash, folks. They have to have security to protect their cash. If we just got over ourselves and stop the stupidity regarding drugs. You don't want people to be addicts. I don't want people to be addicts. We're not stopping that. Hell, we're not even slowing it down. All we're doing is creating a situation where these companies, call them companies. Every time somebody says cartel, correct them, say company. It's a drug company. You're denying them access to banks, banking systems. So you're making them carry huge amounts of cash, which they must protect. And their security is what you bitch about. That is the part you complain about. And you create the situation for them to have that kind of security. They cannot rely on the police for protection. They cannot rely on the banking systems for protection. And exactly, Mary P. Exactly. You have the broligarchs that have created a system in which they can tap into those profits. The broligarchs are getting paid, but we're still stuck with this same stupid system. And people are like, Paul, you need to run for president. Man, that is one thing I would do. I would end the war on drugs immediately. Immediately. Exactly, Dr. Don. Mexico's not fighting the same addiction problems we are. They aren't. But they do have an Iron River problem, and that's our drugs flowing south. But I don't want to get off track from what we were talking about. Because, yeah, they are desperate. They are looking for a distraction, and they are dangerous when they're in this situation. They are dangerous when they're in this situation. So what does Trump do? He throws an executive order out there that is unconstitutional. He throws an executive order out there that is illegal. But it is going to be a problem. I've told you, even weak, feckless, stupid presidents can do a lot of damage. And this is what I'm talking about, folks. Trump has issued an executive order where he has said he is going to demand our state and local boards of elections, our secretaries of state that run our elections and local boards of election, are going to have to demand proof of citizenship for registration. Here's the problem. One, you've already got to be a citizen to vote. You do. But what they're talking about is exacerbating a problem. Republicans cannot govern. They can't. They cannot govern. And yes, this is 100% modeling what Russia does. If you can't win elections, you limit who can vote. Banks make huge amounts of money dealing with the legal tender. The bros want to do the same with crypto. Exactly. That's all, folks. That's what crypto is. That's what crypto is. Crypto is doing what the government should have done a long time ago and ending the war on drugs and giving these companies that manufacture these drugs that 20% of our population demand, they're giving them access to a banking system. That's what they're doing. And they're making huge bank off of it. Silly Bee-Boo, thanks for being here again. We are making it worse for addicts. We are. We also make the drug war worse by messing with other countries south of us. 100%. Lisa, thank you for being here. You know, we do nothing but make it absolutely as awful as possible for our citizens. You know, people take an addict. If you've never dealt with addiction, you have no idea how much it blows up your preconceived notions that we're told from the corporate media about addiction. You have no idea. I didn't mean the show to be on addiction. I didn't, but here we are. Wow. Thanks for being here. New supporter. And I'm going to screw this up. I'm going to say purse piano gal. Purse. I'm going to go with the S sound for the C. Piano gal. Purse piano gal. If I got that wrong, correct me, because I like matter of respect. I want to pronounce your name correctly. Thanks for being here and thanks for supporting us. I'm so glad I'm a Canadian music teacher. Definitely praying for all the American teachers who will be losing their job security. Yeah, it is a mess. Look, I don't want to get off on a tangent. I could talk about addiction and stuff for an entire show. I don't want to get off on a tangent because these are the things that are happening. Not only are they saying, okay, you have to, in order to register to vote, provide a birth certificate, a passport. You have to prove your citizenship. Folks, you have seen this over and over. I've had it happen to me. My registration got monkeyed with. It's happened to you. You have had to go re-register. This is what they're counting on, folks. They're not going to hack the machines and they're not going to do anything that could criminally get them in trouble. No, they're going to do it in broad daylight right in front of you. They're going to make it incredibly difficult for you to vote. Period. That's it. It's not complicated. This is not constitutional. It is not legal. Not because you can't have your state can pass a law that says everybody's got to, your state could legally do this. They could say, everybody has to re-register. Our system is so screwed up, we got to start from scratch. Everybody has to re-register and everybody has to provide documentation. Your state could legally do that unless it's otherwise codified in your constitution or your state laws that they can't. But for the most part, just about every state in the union could do that. You know who can't do that? The President of the United States. Because in the Constitution, it specifically enumerates who controls elections. And it is not the president. That is a power they specifically take away. They do not allow that. The president has never had that authority. If they want to do this, they have to do it state by state by state. This is illegal and it will fail just on those grounds. But it's a fight they want to have because they want to go back to the stupidest of the stupid. We call them MAGA. And they want to tell them, oh, look at the Democrats. They're fighting to allow illegal immigrants to vote. Well, no, what we're going to be fighting for is to defend the Constitution. A president can't do this, but it's worse. It always gets worse. William G. Atheist, thanks for always being here, my friend. Texas Paul, come on, Democrats. It's an easy fix. In Canada, we have to show proof of citizenship and address. It's not that hard. It's not that hard. Like I said, it could be done. But this president does not have the authority to do it. That must be done on the state and local level. It is unconstitutional, folks, and they know it. It's a rope-a-dope to try to get us Democrats arguing so that they can go to their stupids while they're failing them, while they're wrecking their VA, while they're messing up their Social Security, so they can have a narrative to talk about that is not that. It's them Democrats are fighting to get them illegals to vote. We told you they cheated. They cheated. That's what that is all about. All of it. Shortness 3000, not to change the subject, but I truly love Jasmine Crockett and her going on about Government Abbott need to fight fire with fire. Amen. Amen. If you don't know, haven't heard, the Republicans have made everybody calls Greg Abbott Hot Wheels. Jasmine Crockett called Greg Abbott Hot Wheels, and the Republicans have fainted on their couches. Oh my God. Oh my God. Can you believe she would say that about a handicapped individual? She's so awful. Oh, they should hear what I say about Greg Abbott. CC Bean, thank you for being here. New supporter. Thank you. Thank you. Man, that gives me heart that we're going to do okay. We're going to do okay. We're going to keep growing. The new supporters is it's everything, folks. It's everything. I love Jasmine Crockett too. I do. She is one of my favorite people on this entire planet. But what's worse, I told you it's worse. In this executive order, he sicks Doge on your state and local boards of election. He sets out a mandate that Doge will have to go ensure that states are making this happen, which means they're going to access your personal voting information. They're going to access your personal voting systems. With that being the case, this seems somewhat relevant. Team member of Musk Doge staff provided tech support by cybercrime to cybercrime ring let me try that again. Team member of Musk's Doge staff provided tech support to cybercrime ring. Records show Edward Korestein, who is 19, is among members of Doge effort that has been given access to official networks. Yeah, more and more and more and more keeps coming out. You know what? I didn't bring up a picture. I should have had a picture for you. This is Edward Korestein. This is Edward Korestein. It's this guy again. It's this guy again. So you got a visual reference of who we're talking about. It's this guy. 19 years old, accessing all kinds of governmental systems. But turns out, old Edward has been helping a cybercrime ring. He's been their tech support. In the article, and thank God to the Guardian for doing if you want it's a damn shame, but if you want journalism in this country, there are damn few outlets you can go to. If you want solid, consistent journalism, the Guardian, go to the Brits. They're doing an amazing job. This is from their article. I want to read this to you just to give you an idea. The digital records reviewed by Reuters showed that eGodly, that's the criminal hacker organization website, dataleak.fun, was tied to internet protocol addresses. Their IP address was registered to Diamond CDN and other Korestein-owned entities between October 2022 and June 2023, and that some users attempting to access the site around that time would hit a Diamond CDN security check. So he's hosting their website. He's providing security for their website. And they were grateful. They were grateful. Just in case he tries to deny it, we'll just have to go to eGodly for the receipts. This was put out on Telegram. I told you folks, I do not use Telegram. Telegram is my personal opinion, it is a dirty, filthy criminal entity that needs to have the FBI so far ran up their colon. It's not even funny. It's run by a freaking Russian. I do not operate on Telegram. If anybody tries to tell you, hey, I'm Texas Paul, come talk to me on Telegram. Bullshit. But this was put out on Telegram by eGodly. Why wouldn't they use Telegram? They're a criminal hacker organization. Quote, we extend our gratitude to our valued partners, Diamond CDN, for generously providing us with their amazing DDoS protection and caching systems, which allow us to securely host and safeguard our website, the message said. And Trump wants that guy in your Secretary of State's office, your state Secretary of State's office, in your voting records. Trump wants that guy in your local boards of election. Yeah. This is beyond serious. Jason Crow, thank you for support, man. Thank you for being here, man. I really appreciate you. Anthony Saints, hey Paul, did you see Pete Buttigieg viral? I did. That was a great video. We're gonna play that on Friday. That was a great video. If we don't, sometimes we'll run short on things to talk about, and I'll need a video to play for you to see that's just fire. That one was fire. Mr. Newton, Trump wants to cheat. What's new? Yeah. That's exactly what that is. Folks, the message here is simple. It is what I've been telling you from the get-go. I know I'm going to get the emails. Paul, oh my God, I saw this segment. It's horrible. I'm so afraid. What are we going to do? I'm telling you, it ain't sexy. It requires work. But it's the same damn answer, and it fixes this problem. Get involved with your local Democratic Party because they are going to need bodies to help people register the right way. They're going to teach you exactly what's required in your state. And they're going to teach you how to teach others. I don't know how to put it any plainer. Get involved. And yes, not voting for anyone for any reason that is eligible to vote is not, and it's not acceptable. There is no protesting anymore. There is no whatever your one thing is that has you pissed off. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear you bad-mouthing Democrats. I don't want to hear, if you got something to say about Chuck Schumer, go stick your head in a fucking toilet and say it. But don't say it to me. Not now. This is really happening. We need everybody laser focused on turning out. Look what just happened in Pennsylvania, folks. It's real. We need people turning out. We need people volunteering. We need all hands on deck. Hold the line. I don't know how many times I have to scream that. Mr. Terry, thank you for being here. Thank you for being here. Mr. Baker, thank you for being here. But that should scare the living shit out of you. That yes, part of his executive order, which is not being talked about at all in the court, I assure you it is there. It is not being talked about in the corporate media. There are no headlines. Trump 6 Doge on your election board. Doge on your election board. But it is happening, folks. And yes, we are stronger together. Thank you for being here, Gene. Thank you for supporting the show. Thank you. And absolutely hold the damn line. It is all we can do. It doesn't matter. Every election, we have to get at it. We have to get at it. Because they're doing shit like this, folks. This is just, this is just sickening. I want you to imagine for a second, just a split second, flip the script, and this was a Democrat. Y'all remember that this happened, right? We talked about this. We played the video in the show. Governor Mills in Maine had a little bit of a verbal dust-up with Donald Trump where she wasn't rude. She wasn't anything. She just told him, threaten away. It doesn't matter. We're going to follow the law.
Is Maine here, the governor of Maine? Well, are you not going to comply with it?
I'm complying with state and federal laws.
Well, we are the federal law. Well, you better do it. You better do it because you're not going to get it.
Now, just to rehash for anybody that may not have seen that or doesn't remember it, he called her out by name because she said, look, Mainers, folks in my state, don't stress, don't worry. Executive orders don't carry the weight of law. Our law, it's in the Constitution. My Secretary of State runs the elections in our state. We are going to follow the law. That's it, period. She also came out and talked about he had an executive order attacking LGBTQ plus and trans members. And this is what led to this one, because she said, no, look, we're Maine. We have our values. We're going to do what we're going to do. Forget this guy. Just forget this guy. And this was brought to us by a scene and the Midas Touch Network. Folks, this is who you need to be following. These are the people that will give you this information.
Maine. Is Maine here, the governor of Maine? Well,
Down here,
are you not going to comply with it?
I'm complying with state and federal laws.
Well, we are the federal law. Well, you better do it. You better do it, because you're not going to get any federal funding at all if you don't. And by the way, your population, even though it's somewhat liberal, although I did very well there, your population doesn't want men playing in women's sports. So you better comply, because otherwise you're not getting any federal funding.
See you in court.
Every state, good, I'll see you in court. I look forward to that. That should be a real easy one. And enjoy your life after governor, because I don't think you'll be in elected politics. Every state.
Hats off to Governor Mills. That's how you treat a bully. That's how you treat a bully. I run my state, not you, fucker. Kudos to Governor Mills. Well, you know how frail, weak, and pitiful. If my people look really bad. Middle-aged white guys, we look really freaking bad right now. We do. People, we are not all like this piece of shit. We are not. And I'm not even talking about Trump right now. This is Lee Dudek. Lee is nobody. He was a mid-level guy in the Social Security Administration. He's nobody. And he's just a frail, pansy piece of shit that got his feelings hurt. And I mean that literally, because he has come out and said this. He was very upset at that exchange that you just watched. It really upset him. It got him the sads. He was angry that she did not respect his president. The president that took him from being a mid-level nobody and put him in charge of your Social Security. Dick Gray, thank you for the support, my friend. New supporter coming out with guns blazing, my friend. Thank you. $50 is a lot of money, and I know it, and I appreciate it. Mr. Knudsen here again, man. Here, our European audience is showing up, man. Our Norwegian audience, brother. These are Scandinavians, my friend. These are what I'm telling you. If you're in North Carolina's 9th District, donate to Richard Ojeda, volunteer and help him win. Amen. Richard's a friend of the show. He will be on again. He was just on. He will be on again. Flip that seat from red to blue. Heal the world. That is the mission. Diane Kenyon, new supporter. Thank you for being here. Check out all the new supporters, folks. Check them out. Nasty a person as can be Trump. Yeah, he's gross. He is gross. But what's even more gross is Lee Dudek, because he had feels. He was very upset by that exchange. And then this happened. Social Security Commissioner admits anger at Maine governor over Trump clash was behind change to newborn policy. Lee Dudek told the New York Times that the decision, now this is him saying, not me. I am not reading into his emotions or feelings. This is him saying it out of his mouth. He had the fifis. He had the feels. Lee Dudek told the New York Times that the decision to force parents to go to an office to register newborns for a Social Security card happened because he was ticked at the governor. Let me expound on that just a little bit. This flunky weakling, had his feelings hurt. So he scrapped for a state the standard policy. We've talked about it before. If you die, Social Security finds out immediately. Ask the folks in the audience. They will tell you they have had relatives that have passed on, and the funeral home, there's an entire system to automatically inform Social Security. That's why this Doge bullshit about, oh, there's 150-year-olds collecting Social Security. Everybody went, nope, that doesn't work that way. There's an automated system in place to inform Social Security when you die. And they find out immediately. Immediately, they will take your money back. If you die mid-month and you've already been, that money's gone. Ask the audience. Ask the audience. They have dealt with this before. It is amazing how fast that happens. And it's because of this system that Lee Dudek just killed in Maine. But that wasn't the only one. He had his fifis hurt. So he was going to make every person in the state of, yes, Diane Kenyon, thank you. Go to Democratic Party meetings. Get involved with your local Democratic Party. Can't say it enough. It fixes so much of this. Vince, thank you for the support. Thank you for the support. But no, it gets worse. It gets worse. That's not the only system. Remember, they're bitching about Social Security fraud, right? I mean, but no, he kills the system that makes Social Security accurate. Worse, when you have a baby, the hospital automatically registers that baby. You know, you get a packet to fill out, names and all that stuff. They file and get your baby registered and a Social Security number. It's automatic. It's automatic. Not in Maine. Not in Maine. He shut that system down for Maine to make parents have to take their newborn baby to an office, which they're selling the offices. They're firing the staff to take your newborn baby in Maine and register for your Social Security system. Something that was automatic. Something that ran. None of this is about efficiency. None of this is about efficiency. Yes, they do. Silly Boo Boo, they do. Thank you for always being here, my friend, with the support. But yes, longtime member of the community. It's an automated system. It's one of the things that works really well in this country. But he has feeling. And he was so upset that she just said, I'm going to follow the law and you can't tell me what to do. The president can tell you what to do. So he did that. This is the same guy that was threatening to cut off all of our Social Security payments if Doge, because he is a massive, see, that's where he comes from, is computer security. He was a low-level guy in computer security. He is an Elon Musk fanatic. And when a judge told Doge, you can't have access because it's the law to all of our personal information in the Social Security system, this piece of shit also threatened to cut off all payments to everybody if we didn't give Doge everything it wanted. Folks, if you ever asked, how the hell did this happen in Germany in the 1930s? How could this have possibly happened? You're watching it. You're watching it. Weak, miserable, punk-ass bitches like Lee Dudek are exactly how it happened. Exactly how it happened. That man is unfit for his old job, much less to be running our Social Security Administration. And I got to tell you, it always gets worse. It always gets worse. What did I tell you? What did I tell you was going to happen? Nixon tried this. The 2025 playbook is a rehash of Nixon. We had some questions about how they were going to implement it. We've seen it. Thank you for the support, Carol. I appreciate you. We've seen it. We have seen it. Oh, mouth's a little dry. Hold on. It's just a rehash of Nixon. It's Nixon 2.0. Executive orders that are illegal, do all the damage you can, force them to go through the courts to stop you, and then you eventually get stopped, but you've already destroyed things. So, that was the plan. That was the plan. We've seen it. Knew we were going to have a mess to clean up. Well, something's changed. Amen, Mr. Newton. Amen, brother. If you buy a Tesla in 2025, you are a traitor. In my book, 100%, you are a piece of shit. Something's changed. Something's different from what happened with Nixon. See, under Nixon, Republicans, their voters, were horrified at Nixon calling himself a king. They were. They were horrified by it. Not so much anymore. Because the Republican base are just freaking morons. Anything Trump wants is a good thing, as far as they're concerned. Because they feel tough. Ooh. And they're morons. They don't know what they're destroying. They've got no clue how the system works. They've got no clue what protects them. They're clueless morons. Susan Sylvester, thanks for being here. I appreciate you. I really appreciate you. So this is happening. This is different. This didn't happen under Nixon. Under Nixon, the Republicans went, you got us. This is going to look bad. We can't do this. We can't do this. Stick with me. This is the bad news. There will be good news at the end. I promise you. This is the bad news. This is different. Thank you for the support, Sharon. I appreciate you being here. All you new supporters, thank you for being here. Shout out to Marco Foster for sharing this. This is not being shared. This isn't even getting play on social media, much less in the corporate media. This is a big freaking deal. This is the Speaker of the House talking about, we talked about Jeb Boasberg. This was the catalyst. They've been, I told you, this stuff's not going to make it through the courts. It's just not. And judge after judge after judge is punching Donald Trump in the eye. Well, that gives them feels, man. You can't be telling us no. It doesn't matter. It's the law. You can't tell us no. So this is what they want to do about it.
What the founders intended. So there's a natural tension between the branches of the government, and we're working through that. The Judiciary Committee is looking at alternatives. One of the bills that I really like that's already been through.
Let me pause that for a second. Co-equal branches. That's what he's talking about when he says there's natural tension between the branches. Co-equal branches. Doesn't necessarily have to be tension. It's just different branches have different authorities. And he is very wrong about the authority he tries to assert right here.
Been through committee, was authored by Representative Darrell Issa, and that would limit the scope of federal injunctions, the ability of one individual judge to abuse the system in this way. And it would be, in my view, a dramatic improvement on that. So we'll be moving, I think, that piece of legislation and some others to address it, because we have an Article 1 authority under the Constitution to do that. We do have authority over the federal courts, as you know. We can eliminate an entire district court.
Yes,
we have power funding over the courts and all these other things.
Yes, you do.
But desperate times call for desperate measures, and Congress is going to act. So stay tuned for that. Thank you.
Look, it ain't me. It ain't me. I'm not the one telling you this. That man just told you that. He just told you. He called it abuses. It's not abuses. It's not abuses. John Roberts had to weigh in on this. No, you can't impeach a judge that rules against you. Your remedy for a judgment you don't like is an appeal. You will get an appeal. It'll go to a 3-judge panel, then it will go to a full panel in the appeals court. That's your remedy. Oh no, Republicans, we don't like these rulings, so what we're going to do is we're going to defund that district. We're going to eliminate that district. So that we only got the judges we like that jackass out in West Texas that'll rubber stamp any damn craziness that the Republicans put forward. He is more than willing to issue these abusive injunctions. You want to talk about abuses of power? We're talking about things that aren't rooted in law. He will just rubber stamp it. But they're talking about Judge Boasberg. Let me remind you about Judge Boasberg. They're like, he's an Obama judge. He's a liberal. The fuck he is. He was appointed as a Superior Court judge by George W. Bush. He was approved by the Heritage Foundation. He's a member of the Heritage Foundation. He was promoted by Obama. Not because Obama wanted him. I want you to remember back all of the dirty tricks and demands the Republicans were making. All of that, you got to respect our appointments and the shit like, no. Obama got 3 judges. Mitch McConnell got 3 judges. Y'all remember that? Y'all remember that? The deals they had to make to get judges through? Boasberg was one of theirs. He was supported by the GOP, and and again, Democrats, learn. There is no deal to be made with a Republican. You gave them their judge, a Federalist Society member. Their conservative judge, Jeb Boasberg, appointed by W, you gave them that judge. Now, ain't good enough. Ain't good enough. We want fascism. We want to just be able to declare as a king through executive order anything we want. And even if it's illegal, we can't have our judges. I want to tell you, folks, that is a reference for how off the fucking rails things have gotten. This guy was Brett Kavanaugh's roommate. I like beer, Brett Kavanaugh. This was Brett Kavanaugh's roommate. W appointed, McConnell chosen, ruling against them. That's how freaking far off the rails it's gotten. What do? Oh, well, we'll defund the judiciary. Which they can do, folks. They can. Sharon Reddy, the assault on education began under Nixon. The hippies and flower children knew too much. Add critical thinking, critical thinking keeps people from spending all their income paying interest on debt. How we got here. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. They have been attacking education. They've been attacking the judiciary. And they don't want a judiciary. They want a non-existent judiciary that just signs off. I want you to think about that, folks. I want you to let that soak in. This attack, it is so different from what happened under Nixon. This is a red flag. This is the klaxons spinning with the red lights. This is the sirens, the frickin' sirens going off. This is different from history. Under Nixon, when all of it hit daylight, the Republicans said, oh, this is terrible. We can't do that. Under Trump, the Republicans are saying, oh, we got to make this happen at all costs. At all costs. We're going to go to war with the judiciary. I told you there is good news. There is good news at the end of this. There is. Me neither, AJC, me neither. Thank you for being here. Thank you, new supporter. Thank you for supporting the show. Folks, I got to tell you, this is a massive, and nobody in the corporate media is talking about this. You have to share this. If you tell them, just go to this point in the show if they can't watch the whole show. This is hugely important. This is Republicans saying, we're going to make this happen. Remember, they haven't been doing shit. The legislature hasn't done anything. They have been completely ineffectual. They've done nothing. They've sat on their butt while these executive orders went through because that was the 2025 project plan. Executive orders only, make them fight it through the courts. Now, these Republicans are talking about attacking the courts, eliminating that resistance. The good news is what just happened in Pennsylvania. Incognito 58, thank you for supporting the show, brother. Thank you. Look, I don't do this as a hobby. I told you folks, I could be fishing right now. I could. That was my plan. Fishing, woodworking. I had a plan. I got a Harley out there I'm working on. I had a plan. It wasn't this. What we're doing here together is everything right now. I'm doing it for my grandbabies. Folks, we have to get this information out. Things that the corporate media misses, the things that they don't talk about that are important like this, Doge going into your Secretary of State's office in your state. We can't let that go under the radar because they want to attack the Houthis, even when they screw it up. This is 911. I mean, this is 911. This is emergency. This is a change from history. This is Republicans getting off their ass in the legislature and attacking the judiciary when the judiciary, which is so far right, looks at what Trump is doing and says, no, that's too far. Jeb Boasberg ain't us. He's not a liberal. No matter how many times they try to say it, and your idiot uncle talks about it on X and all their social, Breitbart and their social media circles, he's not. He's dyed-in-the-wool conservative, and he is sounding the alarm. That's where we're at, folks. And it gets worse. It always gets worse before it gets better. It gets worse. Republicans are doing this. Not only are they attacking the judiciary, but they are legally giving up powers to Trump. The New York Times, I hate the New York Times. They've got a story actually worth reading that's half-assed. Republicans quietly cede power to cancel Trump's tariffs, avoiding a tough vote. House GOP leaders tucked the provision into a procedural measure needed to pass a government spending bill. Again, Republicans are willing to do anything filthy dirty, and they will wreck the government. They will burn it to the ground. Rachel Maddow, kudos to the New York Times for bothering to do their job a little bit. But Rachel Maddow had a great segment on this. I believe it was last night or the night before last. Somebody fact check me on that. I know we've got to have some Maddow fans in here. What they're talking about is the Republicans made this Congress, they say the 134th Congress, 135th Congress, 136th Congress. They made, and it's a year long. They made this entire Congress one day. And they did it by suspending the legislative calendar. Really, they did that. See, there's a lot of laws that have time attached to when things get triggered. And one of those things is Trump is slapping tariffs on other countries by declaring an emergency. The reason he came out and sounded like an idiot accusing Canada of being a fentanyl problem is he had to declare an emergency. The Canadians were like, what? Wrong border, Kimosabe. the reason he had to say that stupidity was it had to be, by definition, an emergency for him to slap those tariffs on. Well, when he does that, we don't have kings. There's a law in place called the Emergency Powers Act that limits, it says, when a president declares an emergency, so things can't just run haywire, the committee that oversees whatever that emergency is must present a bill to provide legislation to support this within 15 days. That word is important. Days. Then all of Congress must vote within 3 days of that bill coming out. Brother, you know I love you, but if that's where you're going, man, you are in the wrong damn place. I love you, brother, but no, you cannot go there. I'm sorry. You just can't. We don't have that luxury anymore. It was the Republicans that said, we're going to put an item in the bill that ends the legislative calendar. With no calendar, no days. Is it illegal? In this situation, yeah. Because by suspending the calendar, they abdicate their responsibilities under the law. Again, must be challenged in court. The courts have to get involved. The courts have to rule against them and force them to apply the calendar to those things that legally require the legislative calendar. But the whole point is that whole 2025 project thing of trying to seem inevitable. Nobody can do anything about it. Yeah, we can. And yes, Chuck Schumer knew this. Chuck Schumer knew that if they tried to do this, it would be challenged in the court. They would eventually lose, and it would be just one more overreach by the Republicans. So that is the good news at the end of this. That is the good news at the end of this. We know they will lose in the courts. But you got these Republicans in the House that are threatening the judiciary right now. That's what's happening. That's what's happening. And right now, we need all hands on deck for these special elections. We do. It's a tremendous opportunity. People need to know this is happening. They need to know what the Republicans are doing, that they're ceding their authority, that they're going to force people to go to court to make them do their jobs. These are the kind of things that people will vote on. It's hard to get people to vote on LGBTQ plus rights. You'll do it. I'll do it because we're decent people. But the majority of people out there, remember what I apologized for in this last election. I forgot we were talking to the stupids. I forgot that we're talking to the people that George Carlin used to ridicule in his shows all the time. There are Americans out there that, hey, I'm not gay. I don't care. I'm not going to show up and vote. There's a huge number of people like that. So if we make the center of our policies LGBTQ plus rights, we're going to get a huge number of Americans that just say, I don't care. Doesn't affect me. Same with immigration. We make immigration and the abuse of immigrants the center of our our political push in these elections. We're going to get a huge number of people that just say, I'm not an immigrant. Doesn't affect me. We've all heard the poem. I'm sure some of you could recite the entire thing. First they came for the trade unionists, but I wasn't a trade unionist, so I didn't speak out. That's real, folks. That's real. But you tell people your Social Security, look what they just did in Maine. And yes, everyone freaked out about that. Yes, the Republicans, voters freaked out about that, and they panicked and they overturned that. They have now reinstituted those programs in Maine. The pressure that people like you going out there and screaming at your drunk uncle the things that he actually cares about, his veterans benefits, his Social Security benefits, sending Elon Musk into your local elections. People care about that because it affects them. It affects them. We always have to do the right thing. We do. It's who we are. It's in our DNA. ET, that is right. That is why you will hear me, even though I am a straight middle-aged white guy, I will bang away on LGBTQ plus rights and dignity and decency and protecting them from abuses. But I also know I will never forget this again. I will not make this mistake again. I can't make it the center of my political push in an election. I can't. Too many people are shit out there that if they ain't gay, they ain't voting. Remember that, folks. Special elections coming up. We've got to do it. It's the 26th. It is 26. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more days. 5 more days. We've got a special elections coming up. We just flipped a Trump, almost 16% Trump district. You have to get involved. You have to keep people focused on the things that they will vote for. Tell them about Doge going in to attack your elections. Tell them about Doge going in and firing people working at the VA. Remind them at how we Democrats push. The Republicans attacked us on inefficiencies at the DA. We computerized, we modernized the computer systems. We remember there was a clock that was ticking on what were the delays on people getting their VA paperwork through. How long did it take? We modernized that system. The Republicans came in and destroyed it. And he did it using someone who was never elected to a single office. Elon Musk. Make Elon Musk the face of the Republican Party because he is. Chiron 1, 1999. Over your left shoulder, it looks like you have a Funko Pop of Mr. Spock. Thank you for your LGBTQ plus. Look, my grandson's gay. It's not an unselfish thing when I fight for LGBTQ plus rights. I have friends and family that this affects. So, I'm not going to pretend to be some white knight moral character that just does this for unselfish reasons. No, that is why I fight for LGBTQ plus rights. It's people I love. But do not kid yourself. There are a lot of people in this country that aren't you. I'm not kissing your ass when I tell you you're different, because you are. You will just vote for someone else and their well-being because it's the right thing to do. If it doesn't affect you at all, you'll just do the right thing. Republicans are 100% the opposite of that. They will attack anyone that is not them. We are not the same. Those people that are lazy and they're like, oh, both parties are the same and it's a waste of time voting. You're full of shit and know nothing. We couldn't be more different. Gail Brownell, Texas Paul, have you ever heard about them using a jail in Florida as a concentration camp? Overcrowded and not enough food and water. Man, reports are coming out all over the place, and it's just going to get worse. And we have to keep banging away on it. We have to keep banging away on it. Exactly, Kylie Slaughter. They attack what they perceive as weak. They do. They do. Peter, closed minds do not prosper. No, they do not. And because MAGA are fundamentally cowards at their core. They are. They're fundamentally cowards at their core. Well, folks, that's what I have for you today, and I've gone way long. We've gone 2 whole hours of me just running my mouth. But unfortunately, we don't have time for a roundtable. I do apologize for that. Thank you for being here. Thank you for all the support. Thank you for keeping the lights on here. It's important what we do. Now, do me a favor, please. I'm asking you. This has to get to other people. Other people have to hear this. The corporate media is not covering a lot of what I talk about. I give you the headlines so that you can go back, you can pull those headlines up, and you can verify for yourself. You can. Here's another headline for you, just to back up exactly what I was talking about. When I pull these headlines up, this is why I do it. You can take that headline and you can put that in Google, and it will take you to that exact article, and you can verify everything I said. Receipts. I bring receipts. Folks, I can't stress it enough. Special election, 5 days. Get involved with your local Democratic Party. That's how you and I, we fight all of this. And I want to tell you, I believe that we're probably going to win one, maybe both of these. But even if we lose both, if we move that needle in those red districts to where it's even close, you're going to get your rank and file Republicans up there that are liking their $174,000 a year, their staff, their travel bonuses, their inside tips where they're making money like they never made money before, their memberships to the private clubs. They will see all of that potentially evaporating because maybe they're not in a district that's as red as Tallahassee. It makes a difference, folks. Show up and vote. And what we just saw with Maloney in Pennsylvania shows you there is no safe red district. No Democrat had won that district. And I believe it was 56 years. Someone will have to fact check me on it. I know it was over 50. Flip blue, folks. Do it. We got to do it right now. And this is the last thing I'm going to say. I know we've gone long. I've only got a minute. We've been over 2 hours. Elon Musk is spending millions, tens of millions of dollars on the Wisconsin special election in 5 days. He is spending it exactly because of this judicial conduit, because the guy they've got running will rubber stamp anything. He'll rubber stamp anything for Donald Trump. And Elon Musk knows that a Democrat win there keeps the judiciary healthy and keeps the judiciary as our safeguard as they try to push this Nixon 2.0, use executive orders to shove everything through effort. That election, even though it's not a House seat, is as important as every other one. Susan Crawford in Wisconsin. We can win that seat, folks. We can. And if you don't believe that, where's Elise Stefanik's? Where is Elise Stefanik's election? Her old seat. She hasn't given it up. They're so terrified, and they know the political landscape has shifted so much that Elise Stefanik herself could not win re-election in that New York district, much less some newbie that they put up that doesn't have her name recognition. And I'm telling you, folks, this is the opportunity of a lifetime, and we have to do it. Get involved with your local Democratic Party. Vote. Do whatever it takes. If they tell you you have to stand on one leg and skip hopscotch to get to your voter registration so that you can get to that poll and vote, do it. Do it. If they put your they put your voting booth in the middle of a cow pen and you got to walk through 12 inches deep of cow shit to vote, do it. Because more than anything in this world right now, we must hold the line, or we lose it all. Or we lose it all. For our grandbabies, our children, not just for ourselves. I love you folks. This is Old Texas Paul. Enjoy some Texas cities at night.